Tino Patino is here later in the show because if it's a Friday, it's a NASCAR Friday. We've got a race in Atlanta to preview. Always fun in Atlanta. Tino will be here with us to dig into that race from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and Tubi. Chuck Todd, special guest on the show today. He'll be spending a few segments with us. He is a huge sports nut. For those of you that have never seen his appearances on this show before, he's a huge sports fan. Loves the Nationals and Wizards, Miami Hurricanes. It's in his email address. I'm not going to give you his email address, but it's in his email address. So he's a big fan of the Canes, loves the NFL, loves all sports. So we're going to mix some sports with the intersection of politics and have a great conversation with him. That's coming up in about 10 minutes, so stay tuned for that. We've also got some odds and ends to talk about today. We'll tell you what's going on with the tennis at Wimbledon as well. But we start things out, as we always do, on this Friday edition of the show. It's time for the big story. And the big story is presented by the Daily Wrap. It's available on Substack. All you got to do, scan the QR code. You got your phone in your hand. Everybody does. Scan the QR code on your TV screen right now, or whatever screen you're watching us on. The old TV screen. Scan the QR code, and you can check out our Substack newsletter. It's available Monday through Friday. Whatever the top story of the day is on our show, we're talking about it in the Substack newsletter, the Daily Wrap. Go and subscribe today. It's free, easy, and we would appreciate it. All right, couple of topics I want to get to in the big story today. Start with the NBA, because a lot of us have been waiting to see this AJ Dybantsa, Darryn Peterson matchup that we saw last night here in Las Vegas. Utah Jazz, Washington Wizards meeting up, number 1 versus number 2 in this year's NBA draft. And look, if last night was any indication, the future is really bright for both of these teams, as we got a chance to watch both of these guys. They are fantastic. And it was everything you would have hoped for in a 1 versus 2 matchup. I think somebody said it was the most points ever scored between 2 draft picks in a game, something like that. It was some crazy stat that was thrown out there. Dybantsa, 27.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block. Showed out for the Wizards. Tied Blake Griffin's record, as a matter of fact, for most points by a number 1 pick in a Vegas debut. He left late in the game, had some minor leg soreness. Darryn Peterson had 24 points, couple of rebounds, 3 assists. He jacked one up before the half and banked it in, and that got people all fired up. Dybantsa had a highlight reel dunk. So we got to watch these two go at it. You had all the stars there sitting courtside to watch these two go at it. So, there's some appreciation. There's Anthony Davis, teammate of Dybantsa. So it'll be fun to watch these two as we get into the season. A lot of people think this is one of the most talented drafts in over 20 years. Remains to be seen. Obviously, time will allow that to play out. But a fun game last night between those two teams, with Darryn Peterson and the Jazz being beaten by the Wizards 92-88. Nobody cares about the scores. It's obviously just about seeing what these prospects can do, but it was certainly fun to watch them go at it last night. A note from golf in the big story today. And it's more than a note. I think there's a story here. And it's this guy, Scottie Scheffler, who's going to miss the cut at the Scottish Open. And I think it's like the first time in 78 events that Scottie Scheffler has missed the cut at a PGA or, in this case, the DP World Tour event. So for the first time, Scottie Scheffler's going to miss the cut in like 4 years, which is an amazing stat. And he should be applauded for what he was, able to accomplish in doing that in 4 years. 78, by the way, was 78 was the number. 4-year streak, consecutive events in which he's played on the weekend. 78 was the number. But I think the bigger story here that everybody's missing is, and I know he won an event earlier this year, Everybody loves Scottie Scheffler. But I'm trying to figure out why Scottie Scheffler is the favorite to win at the Open Championship. Somebody's got to help me understand why it is that Scottie Scheffler is still that guy when we talk about the Open Championship. Right there with Rory McIlroy, they're basically 1 and 2 when you look at the favorites for this year. Because as well as he's played, and he's racking up top 10s and top 20s, and that's great. But the fact of the matter is, he's obviously hit a little bit of a block here in terms of being able to finish these events or play a complete enough 4 rounds to win one of these events. So I have to ask the question at this point, when do the numbers start to change? When do the betting odds start to reflect this? Because they're not yet. Rory McIlroy plus 650, Scottie Scheffler plus 700. They'll be 1A and 1B going into this Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. But I don't think Scheffler deserves that number, given the fact that he hasn't been able to finish these tournaments. So I'm trying to figure out what it would take for the odds makers to finally bring him down in that number. Maybe the missed cut at the Scottish Open is the opportunity to do that. Maybe the number starts to come down a little bit when it comes to Scheffler. And look, plus 700 is a nice number still. Put $100 on Scottie Scheffler to win the Open Championship wouldn't be a bad thing to win $700. And it's certainly not the sort of prohibitive favorite that we saw him as 4 months ago, 5 months ago, when it felt like the number was so short, it just wasn't even worth touching. But somebody has to explain to me what it would take for the guys in the back rooms in Vegas or at FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever your sports book of choice is. Circa, our friends out here in Vegas, we love them. What's it going to take for that number to get a little shorter? Or to get a little longer in this case on Scottie Scheffler, because he's still getting a lot of respect for a guy that hasn't won in a while, at least by his standards. And that's the big story. Chuck Todd is here, the intersection of sports and politics. We'll talk about all that and more with him next. SportsWrap continues on this Friday, and anytime we can get this guy to hang out with us, it's always a good day. The one and only Chuck Todd.
Nice to see you.
I'm used to looking to the TV on my left, not the monitor on my left, and seeing you on the television.
Well, that's that old, it's like, am I listening to you on a transistor radio? Come on, man. We have moved on. Nobody's watching those little weird boxes anymore.
Oh, but I still see you. You still pop up as a commentator.
Maybe. We're all multi-platform, right, Jason?
People want your opinions, and I'm always flattered when any of the news networks call me up. And can I tell you a funny story? I was on Newsmax 2 the other day. Nice. I said yes. A friend of mine is a producer
I do the
over
Newsmax
there.
Guys. Yeah, no. I
was like, hey,
they're they have a good time. Look, I don't know. Tree falls in the forest. We'll find out. But they enjoy themselves over there. It's a good operation.
Yeah. So you go wherever. When you have time, you pop on and do these things. So Chuck is joining us. He's got. By the way.
By the way, let me guess. Newsmax wanted to do Caitlin Clark.
No, it was actually on the World Cup red card Trump controversy.
The Trump stuff.
Yeah. Chuck and J.A. Adonde recently launched the Dynastic podcast. If you have not checked that out yet, please go and do so. Also, Chuck with Newsphere. The Chuck Todd cast and all those different things. We could spend an entire segment just promoting the different things.
That's exactly what I was promised, right? No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had a rant this week about the intersection of sports and politics.
Mm-hmm.
And
I saw it. I enjoyed it.
Well, yeah. We do this thing these days where, go back to Laura Ingraham, the shut up and dribble sort of crowd. And, the Donald Trump red card FIFA thing brought this to mind. And I'm curious to get your thoughts, because a lot of these sports companies and media companies are running away from this stuff out of fear of alienating, some of their viewers or some of their listeners. Is that the right strategy still? Because it feels like ever more now, more than ever, we have politics and sports being intertwined.
Look, the issue is not the impact on viewers. The issue is the impact on advertisers. Okay. And, I will just tell you from my previous experience dealing with where I had a daily Meet the Press show on MSNBC, had my Sunday Meet the Press on NBC. The concern wasn't anything I was saying or doing. The concern was the perception because there were advertisers for key affiliates of NBC who hated MSNBC and didn't want any of that. So the point is that where I think where in my experience, the reason executives get squeamish about politics is the first people they hear from are usually it's the head of the affiliate conglomerates, right? Your Nexstar, your Tegnas, who hear directly from the car dealership guys. Okay. And they have a lot of it. And that's where all of this comes from. This happens I saw it happen on the news side. I've seen it happen on the entertainment side. I've seen it happen on the sports side. That's how the pressure gets applied. All right. This is one of those things. It's like it comes through basically local advertisers through the affiliates up to, and so it's never actually, none of them try to find out, well, what do the viewers want? Are the viewers offended by this? Are the viewers turned off by this? They don't know that. They don't know the answer to that. They simply are reacting to the what they believe or are somehow misled to believe are financial stakes.
Yeah. See, and I actually had maybe a year and a half ago, I had my distributor. I always like to say I don't have a boss, but we all have bosses in some way, shape, or form. In this case,
100%.
Yeah, the distributor, the company that distributes my show, we lost one affiliate because we did a topic on trans sports, and that whole controversy, and we literally lost one affiliate because of it.
Right, and I'm sure it was one advertiser who called that specific person who works at that.
And when I did my homework, but it wasn't even some. It was a tiny digital network, right. But when I went and did the homework, I found out the guy who owned it was a hardcore right-leaning political junkie. And I tried explaining that to my distributor. It just didn't compute. It didn't get through to him. But I feel we can't run away from it anymore because. And I ran through the litany of things, whether it's Trump and Live Golf, whether it's, Congress getting involved now saying, Caitlin Clark, we need to talk about Caitlin Clark, NIL, all these different things. We can't run from it. There's just no way.
I'm sure there was outrage when Teddy Roosevelt got involved with football. I mean, it's always funny to me when I can't believe this is happening. And you're like, yeah, it's always happened. What do you mean? And then right. I mean, it's like it is. Look, we've had presidents want to always insert themselves. This president, frankly, inserts himself into things not since guys named Roosevelt. Yeah. Okay, both Roosevelts were very much would always involve themselves in the culture of the country as much as they involve themselves in the work of the country. So, I think it didn't help. And then, of course. Here's Trump's problem. The reason most smarter politicians don't want to insert themselves in sports because fan base, why alienate potential voters, right? You get involved on the wrong side of a fan base and you could really alienate them. And of course, the running gag right now is, man, Trump's got the sports cooties, right? I can go back to the one World Series game he came to for the Washington Nats. They lost that game. Yeah. The one Knicks game he goes to, they lost that game. He roots for the Chiefs over the Eagles in the Super Bowl. The Eagles win that game.
Well,
he goes down to Miami, Indiana. His granddaughter's at Miami, and he brings the cooties to my Hurricanes. So,
Isn't it you go where you're comfortable? But isn't it you lean on what you're comfortable with? And in his situation, when things are going bad, and things are going bad for him from a popularity standpoint, approval ratings, all that stuff. And the war's
not going well.
Right. Yeah. Don't you go where you're comfortable in that situation? And maybe that's why he's doing that?
But the thing is, he goes and he gets booed. Look at the Knicks thing, right? He was, he knows he was booed. Trust me,
he doesn't care though. It's the WWE mentality. He's the heel.
He cares. He wants to be there, right? Because he wants everybody to know that he's there, and he wants to force people to have to deal with him there. But the idea that it doesn't bother him, that people boo, no, it bothers him, and it bothers him a lot.
Chuck Todd's hanging out with us. We got more to do with him. Get into the Caitlin Clark stuff next. Chuck Todd isn't just a political commentator. He's also a sports junkie, which is why he comes on with us. And then I make him talk about politics, and he's like, why the hell did I come on here? I could have gone on Newsmax or CNN and done that. Have you ever appeared on Fox News, by the way, since becoming a free agent?
No, and I won't.
Yeah.
I won't. They've invited, and there's a certain, it's just, I just know they've spent so much time character assassinating me over the years, and I've never pulled punches back, right, on certain things. So why would I put myself in that situation?
Yeah, that's fair. What do you think of when you see Congress getting involved and writing letters? Caitlin Clark is so maligned. I mean, what comes to mind when you see something like that?
Well, look, I think it's definitely that this isn't a. I think we all know they're not concerned about that. The primary concern is not Caitlin Clark.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So and so that's
she's a pawn.
That's painfully obvious. Both things can be true at the same time. You have folks on the right who, frankly, never were interested in watching the WNBA 5 years ago, probably really aren't that interested in watching the WNBA today. Maybe they are, but are new to this and are just looking to. There's certain demographics that the WNBA over indexes in that gets weaponized by the right. Okay. But at the same time, the WNBA needs to figure out its officiating situation, right? Like, this is a situation where, and I think there are some, there's clearly some divides in the league that a better commissioner would probably be able to fix. I mean, I think, look, I don't know the commissioner. I've interviewed her once on Meet the Press. Very nice person. I think she has not been able to deal with this. I think they have a few challenges that are unique, right? This is a league where you have a lot of personal relationships between players that are on the same team, and that can cause dynamic issues. And anytime you have that in the workplace, right? Anytime you have personal relationships that are part of the workplace, it can have different types of impact. The point is, I think you have unique challenges in the WNBA that are different than other sports leagues. But I think the leadership is not. They're just missing the moment here. This is a mess.
It is. I don't disagree with you on that. Is there too much emphasis? The problem is, and from day one that she came into the league, there was so much emphasis placed on Caitlin Clark. It was almost the Kelly Leak effect, I think, of the Bad News Bears, where the players just become, sort of resentful to the fact that so much emphasis was placed on her. That
we saw a little bit of that even when Tiger Woods exploded, right? Is that there were a few older golfers who got cranky, like, hey, we've been doing this a long time. Now all you people care. It is. That phenomenon was spoofed. Actually, that's one thing Happy Gilmore does really well, is sort of spoof that mindset, right? Yeah. Like, it's the whole, who are you guys, breaking into here type of thing, right? So I think that, look, there's a large part of this that just feels like simple growing pains, okay? That when a league expands beyond its initial set of demographics, new people start watching. I mean, frankly, look at all the amateur soccer experts like myself when it comes to red cards, yellow cards, and all this business. I can't believe they do it this way and all this stuff, right? Like, whenever you bring in a new, and Caitlin Clark has brought in a slew of new people watching the league. And you're going to have, so I do choose to be glasses half full on this, which is it's possible in 5 years when they find, frankly, leadership that can figure out how to manage this a little bit better, much better refereeing, right? I mean, and here's the thing. I actually said this. I prefer the WNBA style of basketball to the NBA at the moment.
Below the rim, much more
Correct.
fundamental.
And guess what? That type of style is more physical. So there is another part of this that I think fans are overreacting to and not fully appreciating, in that the WNBA just plays a more physical game because it's a more inside game, right? You have more of that. It's played within, and look, I think what Caitlin Clark has done is certainly on the court, right? Brought a little bit of the NBA style of play into the WNBA, but even she plays a bit more physical, say, than a Steph Curry.
Yes.
Right. So I will say this, that's the basketball I remember from the 80s and 90s, and I enjoy, right? So there's a part of me that wonders if some fans just are a little too sensitive to the style of play.
The other thing I'll say about her is she does not weigh in to this whole thing. She stays very quiet.
I think she's incredibly respectful of the league in that respect. I think she's
but I'm even just saying the political stuff where people are using her as a pawn.
And she, here's the thing that I really feel for her on this, which is I think she's plenty of times gone out of her way to say, don't use me to make your political points, right? Stop, please don't do that, et cetera. What frustrates me is how it's sometimes there's some people who don't think she ever does it enough.
Yeah. I'm one of those people.
How often is she supposed to say, right? Does she do it weekly? I mean, you know what I mean? Like at some point, what more can she do?
Well, how about do like one sit down? Like do one sit down with a big time, on Good Morning America or the Today Show, and kind of just get it out there, not in a little, 5-second blurb in a post-game presser.
It would be, if I were advising her, I'd be like, it would be Robin Roberts.
Yeah.
That's who I'd want to sit down with, somebody who's respectful of the sports world, respectful of the news world, respectful of African Americans, all of those things, right?
Yeah.
That's probably the sit down to have if you do it. But, here's the other thing. There's another reason for her not to speak out. State Farm.
It's like Michael Jordan used to say, Republicans buy sneakers too.
Well, we still don't know if he actually said that quote or whether it was a business manager associated with him.
Chuck Todd cast. If you want to catch Chuck Todd, they're also on Newsphere, the new Dynastic podcast with J.A. Adonde as well. I got him for one more segment. I want to ask him about his beloved Nationals and the Washington Wizards. Is he feeling any more optimistic about both teams? We'll get into it next. The great Chuck Todd hanging out with us on this Friday edition of the show.
Nice to see you.
I count my blessings when I get this guy on. Love talking sports with him, intersection of sports and politics. I yesterday on the show was teasing your appearance, and our buddy Sam Yarnell, who I think you've had a chance to talk to with me, hangs out with us on the show. I said, Nats fan number one, Chuck Todd, and he got so offended because he has a Nats tattoo. And
right, I haven't got a tattoo.
And he's a huge Nats fan.
I'm waiting. So I will wait to the second World Series title to get the tattoo.
I'll tell you, though, you look at the standings, Nats are going to be playing the Yankees. I don't know if it's this weekend or a few games
next
from
week.
now.
It's after I think it's after the All-Star break.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I ask you, you look at the standings right now, they only have 2 less wins than the New York Yankees this year. Is this thing ahead of schedule as far as you're concerned right now in Washington?
I think it's definitely ahead of schedule. Look, here's what I will tell you. We basically the joke was we hired all the Tampa Bay Ray interns, right? Very young and turnover. But the fact of the matter is we hired a lot of these, a lot of the Tampa Bay Ray deputies, if you will. And they're fantastic, right? It's the Rays way. And, it's, the funny thing about baseball is you really know a lot about your team. And because it's such a devotion to your team and how much time it takes to watch your team, you actually don't, and I'm in fantasy baseball, so I certainly follow it pretty closely. But to tell you I really saw the Rays way and understood the Rays way of winning, I didn't, fully appreciate you. It was always one of those things you'd look at, who the hell's on their team? And they're in first or second place as always again, right? And this is what's been the last 10 years, right? This has been, or I guess 15 years, right? And if you're a Yankees fan or a Red Sox fan, I'm sure they all go, God damn Rays, nobody even goes to the games. Why do we have to deal with them, right? They get all frustrated. But there's something to the Rays way, and it's this. I narrow it down to this. Every night, the Nationals have a strategy to win that game. They don't think about the next 6.
Yep.
They don't think, yes, obviously you got to manage bullpen as best you can and all this stuff. But ultimately they say, hey, we're not going to punt this game. We're going to figure out the best way to win this game against this pitcher. And you throw in the adjustments they've made. The transformation on the hitting side has been phenomenal. Guys like Luis Garcia, guys like you have Curtis Mead, but the most dramatic change has been our center fielder Jacob Young. This was a guy who we were always lamenting. Kornheiser, his son, so Liz and I were in this group chat, and we're always like watching the games together, being and moaning, and we always were going, Jacob Young, he's just a great outfielder. The kid can't hit. We've been lamenting this. It had been 3 seasons. All of a sudden, the new hitting coach comes in, and Jacob Young's a serviceable hitter all of a sudden. He's not gonna turn into Ricky Henderson in center field, but he's got the speed and the defense. He makes some phenomenal catches, and he's now suddenly a good enough outfielder, especially if you got guys like James Wood. In that lineup. So look, it's not just that they're developing the players, they're teaching the players, they're coaching the players. Now, we got pitching issues. And this has been a problem, and you can turn around hitting problems quickly. It takes longer to transform a pitching philosophy, and we've got a long way to go as an organization. And here's I'm on the fence on this. The fan in me is like, God damn it, we better be buyers. Let's go get a pitcher. Let's go fix the bullpen. We can actually do this. We can get in the wild card. Yeah, I wouldn't mortgage doing that, right? Because at the end of the day, we're really building probably for next year and the year after, right? And we are probably a year soon on this. But I am absolutely a believer in the Rays way. And that's what I've really taken away from this season.
Give me a thought on the Wizards. You go and get A.J. Dybantsa. I remember when they got the number 1 overall pick, and you were like, oh, they'll figure out a way to screw it up. They get Dybantsa. You had Peterson versus Dybantsa on Thursday night out here in Las Vegas, and it was a pretty entertaining
most
show.
Wizards fans are just waiting. They're going to mess this up, right? Like, we didn't. There's something about this is going to go wrong, right? You just when you've watched a franchise always find a way to step under the piano as it's falling down from the top of the roof. You just assume it's coming, and it keeps not coming. Oh, that's right. Oh, they didn't trade AD. Oh, the only weird thing, the only very wizardy thing they did was extend Trae Young. And you're like, okay, I hope that isn't a Bradley Beal. I hope that we didn't Beal ourselves, right? But hey, I joke that if, the missing ingredient on the Wizards would just, there's this guy who can play the 3, the 4, or the 2, depending on what he does. We got some pretty good golf courses. He can go to Congressional. I'm, of course, speaking of, and he loves playing with AD, so let's bring on LeBron James. Why couldn't the Wizards 4 of Sarr, Dybantsa, Trae Young, and AD have made it onto the Chris Paul whiteboard? By the way,
Rich Paul whiteboard. Rich
whiteboard is fantastic. Rich Paul. Sorry, yeah. Chris Paul.
Yeah,
Rich Paul. That was brilliant attention economy segment, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that was move over TV producers, man. Rich Paul, you're the man.
Let me tell you something. Sam Yarnell's going to love you because he's been screaming for LeBron to come to Washington to play
actually,
for the Wizards.
When you look, I look at it this way. Where would LeBron both fit the best and not have to beat himself up? Meaning you get to play more in the backcourt rather than the front court.
And you're in the East.
To me,
Chuck Todd hosts the Chuck Todd Cast. He's also on Newsphere. He also has this great new podcast with J.A. Adonde. It's called Dynastic. Chuck, I always appreciate having you. I know you've been traveling and busy, so I always appreciate you giving me some time. Thank you, my friend.
You got it, brother.
Welcome back to the show. Thanks again to Chuck Todd for hanging out with us. Always a good day when we can chat with Chuck. Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. But first, if it's a Friday, it can only mean one thing. It means this guy is here. Class up the show a little bit. Well, maybe a little bit. Scooch. It's Tino Pizzino, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Does a great job on the weekends, handicapping the races on Tubi as well. As we get into this week's race, which is in Atlanta, which is always a good time, intermediate track there. Chase Elliott was the winner there last year, Tino. But before we get to this week's race, I just want to give you an opportunity to sort of recap a little bit your thoughts on Chase Briscoe, who finishes runner-up to Shane Van Gisbergen at the road course in Sonoma. Almost chased him down, and then able to win last week in NASCAR's return to Chicagoland. You know, are we talking about a Chase Briscoe that can compete for a Cup championship yet, or are we still talking about a guy that still has some work to do in that line?
I definitely think he's capable of competing for the championship. When you're in a Toyota as fast as those guys are right now, JGR has the best average finish amongst all teams. Second would be Spire. And what's funny about that is there's talk about Spire stealing some of their setups, right? So it's 1-2 between those two teams. And for Chase Briscoe, really the season started with bad luck. Like they were in position, had good top 5 speed each and every week, but they needed to finish races. And feeling pretty good because 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, you asked me who could go on a run here if it's not Reddick, if it's not Denny. Chase Briscoe was the answer, and I'm glad to see him doing just that. So it'll take a little bit more speed consistently, more wins, obviously, as well, to put him up there with the Hamlins, Reddicks, honestly, even the Blaney too, because Blaney, I really have my eye on to be that next guy. But for Briscoe, it's good to see him getting the finishes that they deserve.
Who are you worried about the most going into this race this week? When you think about playoff the chase positioning, I always think the playoffs. Positioning for the chase. Who are you worried about the most right now?
I'd say I'm worried about Joey Logano, but it's worry that can also be a positive thing for him this weekend because he goes into this race weekend in the last 7 Atlanta races, 347 laps led, 2 wins here. This is a track that they have to have circled on their schedule to where no speed really all year in terms of being in that top 16. He's 18th in the points right now. This is what they're worried about, winning this race. And if not a win, getting a lot of points in the process of competing for the win. If they don't, it's over. I don't see how he has an opportunity. There are more races within this 7 stretch before the chase that he can win, but even with just 1 win, you see SVG in 14th, and he's trying to stay there as much as he can without getting bumped out. So Joey Logano to me is right now the biggest driver on the hot seat because he has the most to gain, being the one that I feel like could get a win here this weekend.
Chase Elliott was the winner at this race a year ago or last year. When you look at the odds this week, Ryan Blaney 9-1, Joey Logano 11-1, Kyle Larson at 12-1, along with Tyler Reddick, then Chase Elliott and William Byron follow. But there doesn't feel like there's a prohibitive favorite here going into this race. Why is that?
This track is so unpredictable, so chaotic. It is different than your typical super speedway, right? Daytona, Talladega. I feel like you're still going to get the big wrecks here at Atlanta, but it's a lot more technical. The cream rises to the top. You see the drivers that are very fast on super speedways consistently, like a Blaney, like a Logano, who I just mentioned, Chase Elliott as well. There's no coincidence that these guys like William Byron are winning multiple races at this new configuration of Atlanta. And I think that goes to show just how hard it is to control a race here, but how possible it can be without something going wrong. I'd say for those other two super speedways, it's a lot easier for things to go wrong. So in terms of favorites, Blaney should be on your card. He's the best on super speedway, drafting style of racing. Same with Joey Logano. I feel like this is a good opportunity for the Fords to win a race. Really, realistically, it's only been Blaney all season long, so this is their chance to step up here.
Real quick, before I get a winner from you, what's going on with Tyler Reddick?
Oh, man. Well, the
Talk about
exact
Jekyll and
opposite
Hyde.
of how they started. Yep. It's been a free fall the past few weekends, and some stuff not within their own doing, right? In terms of Chicagoland, setup looked great. They looked like they had a lot of speed, and then he punctures the radiator. There's just nothing you can do when that happens. It's not stuff that's within their own doing, at least within that instance. But now you look at him at minus 44 to Denny Hamlin being the points leader. What tells me about, I think he can pick himself up, clean up things that need to be fixed and finish strong. But what that really tells me is the fact that Ryan Blaney is just 2 to 3 wins away from taking that points lead away from Denny Hamlin. I don't think people are really having that perspective right now because of the battle between the 11 and the 45. Blaney, to me, in the next 7 races can win. If not all of them, definitely a few.
All right, I got 30 seconds. Give me a winner for Atlanta.
All right, so I mentioned all the favorites, but here's a long shot for you. 45-1, Austin Hill wins Atlanta in his 8th race, filling in for Kyle Busch in the 33 car there. This is the same track we saw Kevin Harvick do it in 3 races after Dale Earnhardt passed away. So some of these things may seem like coincidences, but this one will not be, because Austin Hill is a driver with 5 wins at this track in the O'Reilly Series.
I love it. Tino Patino going outside the box. Catch him this weekend. Always appreciate you, my friend. Be well.
Thank you. You too.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Friday. Don't forget, the weekend version of SportsWrap available on many of these same affiliates. 30-minute recap show of all the top stories of the week. Sometimes some great bonus content in there as well. Stuff we couldn't get to during the week. SportsWrap weekends. Again, check your local listing for time and schedule if it's not available on the station you're watching right now. The SportsWrap with Jason Page podcast, the audio version of this show, available Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show. Crystal clear audio, Monday through Friday. Go and check that out. 45 minutes, limited commercial interruptions. We also have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place for all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show, available there. 45 minutes, commercial free. Go and check that out. We have Sports Wrap Originals, extended conversations. We had Chuck Todd on. We talked about so much that we couldn't even fit into the TV show, because Chuck and I, we like to talk. Go and check that out on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel as well. The extended conversation lives there. Sports Wrap Shorts also available on our YouTube channel. These are 1 to 3 minute long videos. We create them 7 days a week, whenever news breaks, whenever events warrant. We jump in on the YouTube channel with that. They're also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page. Also available on our Instagram by that same name, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And without any further delay, I forgot one. I always forget the website. We just went and created this awesome website, and I always forget to mention it. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page website is live. Go and check it out. Everything Sports Wrap related is there. The TV show, the podcast, the Substack newsletter, affiliate listings if you're looking to find the show in your area. Maybe you're traveling somewhere. Maybe you have a friend. You want to tell them where to watch it. Go over to sportswrap.tv, sportswrap.tv, and go and check out everything we have there. We got the merch store coming soon. You'll be able to get hats, t-shirts, polos, all that great stuff as well at sportswrap.tv. Make sure to go and do that. All right, now we can get to it without any further delay. On this Friday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, and I didn't think we'd be able to get this into the show because of the time we put the show together versus the time Wimbledon's men's semifinal was going to end. But they were both straight sets matches, so lo and behold, we get it in. Alexander Zverev, Sasha Zverev, defeating Arthur Ferry, the qualifier, the wild card, I should say, not qualifier, the wild card in this year's event, the Cinderella story. Straight sets win for Zverev gets him into the Wimbledon men's final for the first time. And he'll be meeting Jannik Sinner, because Sinner dusted Novak Djokovic in straight sets. Tough to watch. 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. And the questions will be asked, is this it for Djokovic when it comes to Wimbledon? I mean, he was beaten pretty soundly in this match, so it does make you wonder if this is sort of where he is at this stage of his career. Is he okay being the fourth best player in the world? Because that's kind of what he is right now. If you look at him behind Sinner, an injured Alcaraz, who hopefully will be back for the U.S. Open, but that's an unknown. And then Zverev, who just won his first Grand Slam at Roland Garros. Are we talking about the end for Novak Djokovic? We'll have to wait and see. He's obviously going to play through the rest of this year. Patrick McEnroe thinks he still intends to play. We'll see what he has to say in the days ahead, obviously. So Zverev versus Sinner on the men's side. Over on the women's side, it'll be Carolina Mahova, Linda Neskova. The odds over on FanDuel, it's basically a pick 'em. Mahova minus 120, Neskova plus 100. Have fun if you want to go and wager on that match between those two. One of them will be a first-time Grand Slam winner, which is pretty cool unto itself. Odds and ends this weekend, UFC 329. We rarely mention UFC on this show because it's just not something that interests me. And I'm not going to fake it with you. But this is one that I'm actually interested to watch because the last time I was actually into UFC was when Conor McGregor was still at the top of his game. Well, we're going to see him this weekend against Max Holloway. And if you believe Chael Sonnen, who I was watching on a show that shall go nameless because I'm not a big fan of the host anymore, but if you watched what Chael Sonnen had to say, he thinks that there's no way that Conor McGregor even makes it off the stool for the fourth round of this match. That's how lopsided he thinks it is. Interestingly enough, the odds makers aren't looking at it that way. Yes, McGregor is a underdog at plus 180, but Holloway's only minus 225. That isn't overwhelming as much as you would think based on what Chael Sonnen said. I will be watching that this weekend. I am interested to see how Conor McGregor comes back. Heavier weight class, the open compound fracture he sustained. Interested to see what he does there. And if you're looking for something fun to watch this weekend that isn't guys beating the snot out of each other, may I give you the American Century Championship, celebrity golf at its finest. Over in Lake Tahoe, Stephen Curry, Charles Barkley, Jim McMahon, anybody else you could think of that either was a star or is currently a star, they will be there playing. I did not get my invite this year. I will have to hold out for another year, and maybe they'll send me an invite. They're scared, because if you give me enough shots, I could probably compete with those guys. Just saying. It's going to wrap it up for us on this Friday edition of the show. I want to thank all our guests for joining us throughout the entire week. Thanks to our guest today, Tino Patino from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and Tubi, the great Chuck Todd of the Chuck Todd Cast over on Newsphere as well. Catch him on Dynastic, and all of you at home for watching. I'm Jason Page. That does it for Sports Wrap. Catch us this weekend, or we'll see you back here on Monday. Bye-bye.